Hey, 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 welcome to another episode of How She Owns It, the self-leadership edition. I'm so excited to have Tabitha Jones with me on this episode, and I've been really excited for the conversation that we're going to have. I am super curious to hear about the corporate escape Sherpa, which I know is part of your title, Tabitha, but I thought if it's all right with you, I'm going to hand over to you so that you can introduce yourself properly, share a little bit about who you are, what you do, maybe, who you help.
All right. Well, amazing. Julie, I'm so excited to be here today. So, as you shared, I'm Tabatha Jones, the Corporate Escape Sherpa, and my company is Empowered Leadership Coaching. And really, how I got here was I spent a really long time in corporate, more than 20 years of that climbing the leadership ladder and doing all of the things I was supposed to do.
Yeah.
But there was a date back in about 2018 when I was sitting in a leadership conference, and there was this whisper that said, "Why aren't you leading this conference?" And I, like all other high performing, high functioning women, thought, oh, I couldn't possibly do that. I don't have their education. I don't have a PhD. All the reasons why not. By the time I left that 2-day conference, that whisper had become a scream. It was like, you need to take action or you're going to regret it. So I got home, I hired my very first business coach and, really shared with her. I just loved the coaching aspect of my job so much, helping people really see themselves in a different way and become who they wanted to be at their time. That time it was in their career. And, as time has evolved, I got to a place where in my corporate job in 2019, I hit a point where I realized I just didn't love my job anymore. We'd been through a major reorg and I wasn't feeling aligned and was kind of done with the politics and all the things that were happening and decided, you know what? I've built this business. Why not go lean into it? Let's start helping some women. And then we all know what happened in 2020. So I said, well, let's pump the brakes. Let's just hold on a minute. Let's get through this little situation and we'll see what happens. So I settled my team. I did all the things I needed to with my new team structure, got them organized, really elevated the leadership team so that they were doing the work they should have been doing. And then, just all of the layers were set. At the end of 2020, I told my husband, I'm like, I am done. As soon as I'm done with my year end review, I know my bonus is in the bank, I know my stock options have vested, I'm out. And he's like, you're kidding. I was like, I'm not kidding. I'm out. And he said, but you make so much money. I'm like, what do you need me to go buy you? Like, I'll go get it. Like, whatever it is we don't have, I will go get it. I had been building for a couple of years. I'd paid down all of our debt. I had set my financial runway. I had done everything that needed to be done. And he just kind of looked at me when I said, what do we need? I'll go get it. And he said, well, I guess you're right. We don't really need anything. So as I started telling friends what I was going to do, I got the same crazy looks like, but you've built this career, you're so successful, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, well, maybe my definition of success has changed and I am going to do this. So I gave 3 weeks notice and I had been building before I bounced, which is something I say, start building your business before you leave, especially if you're a midlifer. I was 50 at the time. And I left and I haven't looked back except for occasionally when we have those moments of fear, when things get a little scary or uncomfortable. It's like, well, maybe. And then I'm like, nah, I've been in the wild too long. I like it out here. So that's really kind of how I got here. I really had started working with women in leadership as far as career advancement coaching, job search coaching. And what I realized toward the end of 2024 was I was feeling like something was just still kind of not connected. And as I spent the beauty of working for yourself, I spent the entire month of December reflecting last year, like, what do I want to do? What is off? Where am I happiest? And I realized I was happiest helping women build that runway so that they could also make their corporate escapes. So now I work with mostly midlife women and a few lucky midlife men, helping them really build that coaching, consulting, or service based business while they're still in their corporate job. Because as difficult as it sounds, and it is, I'm not going to lie, there is definitely some strategy that you can use to start building that foundation, get to a spot where you're making really good money, and then bounce when you're ready. if you're ever ready. Some people don't bounce, they stay. They like doing it on the side and keeping it as a side hustle so that when they decide to retire, they've got something that's already built. But that is really who I am, what I do, and who I help.
I think like I loved what you'd shared with me before we arranged this call, and I build before you bounce was the thing that I was like, oh my God, I love that. And it's such a smart strategy though for people that do want to go on to take a side hustle or a business that they're doing on the side and turn it into something that's super successful or that be their permanent gig as well. And I think a lot of fear for some people is that when they do leave that safety and that safety net, then it's like, what if I fail? What if I don't get clients? What if I don't get customers? What if? But building it and getting all of that in place before you decide, right, okay, it's now at the place where it's sustainable, it is successful, it's profitable, I can do it. It's such a smart move, isn't it?
It is. Thank you for saying that. And what happens, and I see this, is sometimes we don't have control, especially again, as I look across my midlife women friends that are in corporate jobs that are suddenly being offered early retirement packages or that are suddenly being laid off because of company restructuring. Those that have started building a business are feeling a lot more stable and sturdy because they're like, oh, well, now I have time. I have this additional money that came as part of this package. I can keep building and grow.
Yeah.
Those who did not do that or haven't done that, or maybe it's not even a goal, but they tend to be caught really by surprise and then are even more surprised at how wild the job market is right now, especially in the US. I don't know if this is worldwide, but in the US right now, the job market is really challenging, especially for those in their 50s. So, building and having that backup plan is also a really smart move.
Yeah. And do you have a story or a lesson that you could share that really, I guess, is going to help others to understand how you, well, how it shaped how you lead?
Mm. You know, a lot of my leadership, I say, was kind of from birth, the oldest of four kids. Like it was always on me to be the leader, set the example, do the right thing, right? Always think about the consequences of your actions and how it impacts other people. In my corporate role, I grew my career up to executive director and always held myself to a really high level of accountability and, truly cared about people. I will never not care about people. I love people. I love all people. And I think that's what makes this world so much more fun. When I left from corporate, which I'm going to put this in quotes, is more structured into, now you're on your own. You need to do your marketing, your tech, your this, your that. What I did is I leaned back on a lot of my corporate leadership skills. If it's not on the calendar, it's not happening. If it's a top priority, it's at the top of the calendar. And, for those who are building, when I was leading myself through building my business, one of the things I did, and I recommend this to my clients, is always booking an hour a day to work on my business, to work on my own goals. And a lot of us don't do that. And what happens is it's someday I'll get to that. One day I'll do this thing. Sometime I'll do it. And then you wake up and you're 70 and think, holy shit, where'd all that time just go? What was I doing with it? Um, and I actually interviewed a guest on my podcast and was talking to her about the 1 hour a day. And she said, oh gosh, I couldn't do that. I'm just so busy. And I smile because I was very busy too. I had a team situated across 46 states. Before the pandemic, I was flying to the East Coast from the West Coast pretty regularly here in the US. Like I would get called at 2 a.m. because of a system outage or whatever was happening, but I still managed to find that hour. And when you do a time audit, so I'm going to share this as a strategy for those who are listening and taking a few notes, do a time audit. Think about how you're spending your time, especially in the mornings and in the evenings. When I was thinking, oh, I'm just so busy, and I audited my time, I realized I was playing a lot of Candy Crush. I know, I'm not picking on any of you Candy Crushers, but I was spending a lot of time on it. And in my mind, it was that, oh, this is my wind down time. This is my downtime. Well, what I could have really been using it for is my wind up time. Like, start visualizing, start laying that foundation, start thinking, really deeply. And some of the strategies I share with clients that are just stepping into this business building space is spend your time very intentionally. You don't need to be all over social media. You don't need to be at a million events. What you need to do is start thinking about what I call your freedom framework, your why, your what, your who, and your how. That's going to take you some time, but that's what sets your foundation before you go and start investing in really expensive programs that you may not need, or before you go investing in a bunch of certificates, because we always think, oh, if I just had that one more certificate, then I'd be perfect. You will certificate yourself to death trying to do that. So just really being intentional with that time is the recommendation I have to start.
I love that you've shared that certification, you could just continue in that world for goodness knows how long. I kind of see that very, very similar in that I think lots of people want to improve themselves and then they fall into that space of consuming, consuming, consuming. So they're learning all the things, which is in line with the certification side of things. So they're learning it all. But if you don't actually put it into practice and actually take what you're learning and implement, that's where we fall down, isn't it? And it is the action part of that piece. It's taking what you're learning, even if it's just one thing or just
Mm.
something, and doing it so imperfectly without the confidence, without, being super skilled at it. Even if you just take it and you start doing something, you're so much far further forward than somebody that just sits in that place of just downloading, downloading, consuming, consuming, consuming.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's kind of a form of self-sabotage sometimes. I'm all for education. I love learning.
Yeah.
I also realized when I went out on my own, I was spending a lot of time doing exactly what you say, consuming, paying, getting, buying, doing all these things that I thought were going to make me better, but never really implementing. And, bear in mind, I had been building before I left. I knew what I needed to do. It just felt so different on the outside. And it was kind of a way of hiding myself a little bit. Like, oh, I'm not really ready to go back out and tell people that I quit my job because they're all going to start asking me if I'm crazy. Or what are they going to think about, I left this huge salary and all these great benefits and now I'm doing this. And I had to get to a point in my mindset and doing work there with it doesn't matter what anybody thinks about me. And what they think about me, it's really none of my business. Like, I shouldn't care. So, why am I worried about it? Like, just start putting yourself out there, even if you look stupid, even if you stumble or whatever. Most of the time, we just get so stuck up in our heads that we think, oh, it's just this one more thing. But then you spend years, and I'll tell you from experience, thousands of dollars on things that aren't really going to move you forward.
Yeah, and I think that we can be guilty at times of bullshitting ourselves, that we're actually taking action because we're learning, we've paid for the course, we're learning, we're consuming. So we sometimes lie to ourselves and tell ourselves that doing that means that we are actually taking action, but actually it's not. But so there's
Yeah.
a line, isn't there, where we have to be honest with ourselves and think, right, okay, what am I actually going to do with this now? And how am I actually going to utilize it? So I just loved everything that you shared there, and it's so true. What does self-leadership mean to you, do you think, Tabitha?
For me, it is being responsible and accountable for my choices and decisions every day. And it also means making decisions that are in my best interest, my family's best interest, my client's best interest. Um, Sometimes people in this space get a little lost. And, again, rather than going and making that decision to go do the thing, they'll hold themselves back and think, well, maybe if I do this, kind of like we were just talking about, right? That perfection, or maybe I need this, $10,000 sales coaching program before I even go talk to a single person about what I'm doing. And it's kind of like all growth. It's like leadership maturity, I guess is the best way to say it. We're going to step in it sometimes. We're going to make mistakes, but we need to make those mistakes, learn from it, take the lesson, and go forward. I will tell you, I've made thousands of mistakes. I'm not even shy about it anymore. Yep, I screwed up. I screwed up all day, every day, some days. But truly, like every single thing I've done, even let's refer back to a $10,000 sales program that we'll go there another time. Um, but when I think about how much I hated that program, it wasn't authentic to me. It didn't feel good. I didn't like it. But I don't let that negativity or that piece of it hold me back. What I take from it is, okay, what I learned is how to start really getting out and having conversations. I made some great friends in that program, people that have been supports for me. I've been supports for them. We share information back and forth. So to me, leadership is just giving myself that grace to know that I can make the decision. I can take a wrong decision that I've made and learn from it and go forward. I'm not going to let that get in my way. And that I'm responsible for my time and how I use it every single day. And I'll tell you, there are days that I block out that I know, you know what, that day I am just going to go screw off all day. I'm going to go get out in nature. Just, I'm going to go have some fun. And then this day, I'm going to spend the day. These are the top things that are the most important and get those done because it does make a difference for my clients and for myself.
I love that. And I think so many women can be scared to just make a decision to do something because they feel like they don't have the skills, they're not ready, they don't have all the certifications, like you've said. But I think, and then we end up beating ourselves up because then we haven't made a decision and we're still stuck and we're not doing the things. And it can be a vicious circle, can't it? But I think something I try and encourage people to do and coach myself through is whatever decision you are making at the time that you make it, you're making it with the skills that you've got at that time, the heart that you've got at that time, and the information that you've got at that time. And whether you get what you want or you get what you need, as one of my coaches would say, you are always learning. And so then
Mhm.
taking that learning, that failure, as data rather than making it mean something about ourselves can be really powerful as well. And I think that very much ties into sort of what you've just shared there in the lessons and learning and taking those into the next thing that you do imperfectly.
Yeah, absolutely. And judgment, right? That self-judgment, we're so hard on ourselves. And, I work mostly, as I've said, with midlife women, Gen X. So we have been taught don't ask for help, just figure it out. And so what happens in that case is sometimes we start spinning or we start really judging ourselves harshly because we've always been judged harshly in the past for making a mistake. Uh, I have always taught, even when I was leading in corporate, right? I've taught people it's okay to make a mistake. I want you to learn from it, take the lesson, tell me how you're going to do better, and let's go. Let's go do better. And it's exactly the same as we're building businesses and learning new things. We have so many skills. We forget how important those skills are. Um, just a little quick touch on that. So coming from corporate, right? I had been a leader. I'd led technical teams for years, climbed the ladder. I got I have a weird brain. Like it really works between the geek suite and the C suite. So I used to laugh. I'm like the translator. But all of those skills translate into the entrepreneurial world. So a lot of times we're looking for answers that are already within ourselves. We just don't sit still long enough to dig and do that deep dive into ourselves.
Yeah, and I think that some of us can forget that even skills that we've gained just living actually translate into running a business or in promoting in a career because there are certain skills, whether you're raising a family, the time management and organization, those are skills that are needed in a business
Yes.
and in a career as well, or whatever it might be, juggling all the plates. You need those to be a business owner and you need that to promote in a career as well. And I think something that I learned is just because you're an employee in a corporate career as well, it doesn't mean you can't be the CEO of your role and show up in that way.
Yes.
And equally, when you are a business owner, I think sometimes some people slip back and slide back and then end up seeing themselves as an employee in their own business almost rather than showing up as the CEO just because you're a business owner. you don't always lead from that place because of the doubt or the procrastination or the spinning of plates. And it's just giving ourselves a pep talk during those moments and just reminding ourselves of who we are, what we're actually capable of, and just getting the F out of our own way and getting it done.
Yeah, we love getting in our own way, don't we?
Oh,
Sometimes we do it so badly. But I've said for years, as I was doing, as I was a leader, and even before I had the title, as I work with people who are starting to build a business or maybe want to grow their career, or maybe they're returning to the workforce for whatever reason, or starting to build a business after their kids have grown. So many people are leaders without the title. To your point, the CEO of your life, right? We've done so many things. We just don't always take the time to think about the impact of those things, celebrate them, recognize them, take credit for them, and then apply them to where we're headed next.
definitely. So during the messy times of building your business and building before you bounced and the uncertainty of that period and afterwards as your business has clearly flourished, how have you managed to stay like completely rooted in who you are and the belief in what you're capable of?
You know, there have been times where I was a little bit shaky on that. I mean, for being honest here, because there are going to be days where you think, what am I doing? I just need to go back to corporate. I need to go back to the safe warm blanket of corporate, which we all know safety is perceived sometimes. But honestly, it's conviction. It is knowing that what I am doing and what I am sharing and the information that I'm helping people with as they start growing their businesses, that it matters. It makes a huge difference. One of the things I think I shared when we were prepping for this conversation is I spent a lot of money chasing shiny objects. And as someone who had that corporate leadership mindset, it's like, oh, I'll just fix it. I'll just plug that hole. I'll throw, $10,000 at it. Oh, let me just plug that hole. I'll throw $5,000 at it. And what I learned and what I teach clients now is you have got to build that foundation before you go and start investing in expensive websites, expensive brandings, expensive photo shoots. Everything's expensive. I'm not saying you don't need those things. What I am saying is you need to know who you are and where your conviction is. What is it that you are literally willing to fall on a sword for? Nobody could ever convince you it's wrong. And once you've got that figured out, you're pretty unstoppable. Just keeping that front of mind everywhere you go. If you have to write it down on a piece of paper, like it's right there in front of you and you can refer to it. But conviction is really what keeps you going.
Such a powerful message to share, and it just made me think of um a brand isn't all about the colors, the aesthetics and the website and everything else. And it starts, doesn't it, with how you leave people feeling and the values that you have. And it is all of that. So getting all of that nailed and getting clear on that with the conviction and the thing that you would fall on your sword for, that can get you so much further, as you said, than if you paid for an expensive photo shoot or an expensive website, which are things that will help, as you say, eventually down the line, but that doesn't have to be the place that you start.
Yeah, there's definitely much less expensive places to start, much more strategic places to start. But it all starts to that why. What is your purpose? Like, why are you here? Why is this important? And that's where your conviction starts, which starts that foundation that you need.
Definitely. I'm a big believer that our inner strategy, and to me, that's everything internal, our internal world,
Mhm.
our inner strategy is the thing that fuels any external action, our external strategy. Because if we've got all of that and we're unshakable in who we are and we trust ourselves and we've got the confidence, we've got the conviction, we're staying true to our incongruence with our values and all of that, when life hits or the external world hits or things happen, it's not going to take you out because you're not going to shake, you're not going to waver. You're going to continue on with your mission and whatever that is. And it like the results are going to happen because you've done all the internal stuff that's going to support you through the external
Yeah.
stuff.
So much internal work. And, again, there are gonna be days where, you feel like you're on top of the world, everything's great, and then all of a sudden something happens. It could be a no. It could be, somebody kind of disputing what you're saying, and you're like, but wait, this is true. But it could shake that confidence just a little bit. And that internal work is so important. Just keeping that strong mindset and remembering it's okay to put yourself first. We're women. We drop everything for everyone else all the time to do the things. It's okay to do that for yourself. And that's a big part of self-leadership is taking care of your needs and keeping that strong mindset.
Definitely. So, what would you want other women to know about owning it in terms of who they truly are and the belief in what they can do?
Well, I always tell women you are capable of more than you ever even realize. And then once you do the thing, you think, holy shit, did I just do that? So don't ever forget that. And remember that most of what you need, it's already inside you. You just maybe need to look at it a different way or, pull some different levers. You get so stuck in the day to day, it's hard sometimes to come above it for air. But I would say those are, the things to think about. And then be really careful. There are a lot of people in the world who will convince you that you need their services. I always say just kind of stop, take a beat, think about it, think about the outcome that you're going for before you invest. Think about have you laid that foundation already? Are you already fairly clear? And if not, get back to your hour a day and start working on those pieces so that you can come out feeling strong and capable and successful.
Love that. So, just sort of finally, for anybody that's loved everything that you've said, I've really enjoyed our conversation and I could chat for so long with you. I feel like I keep saying this all the time, but you've got so much good stuff to share and say, even in this just this short period, you've shared so much that I know people watching are going to take so much value from. So if they then are thinking, I want to hear more from Tabatha, I want to go and soak up more of the goodness that she shares, where can they come and find you? Where can they get more of you?
So the easiest place is on LinkedIn. I'm Tabatha with all A's because some people spell it wrong. They put an I in the middle, but it's Tabatha with all A's. Or you can visit my website at corporateescapesherpa.com. And we've got some great free resources and a couple of corporate escape route items that you can check out there.
And just before I let you go, haven't you built a couple of AI tools? Did you want to just share a
I
tiny bit
have.
about those? Yeah.
Sure. So someone asked me how that happened. How did you do that? And I said, well, there was a day and I was expecting this really great contract to come through and it fell through. And I was so irritated. It was over the summer. I just went and grabbed myself a high noon and my little koozie, and I went and got in my floaty in my pool, and I just was pouting for a little bit, steaming, pouting, swearing, whatever you want to call it. And as I was floating, usually interesting ideas come to me, and I thought, wow, I said I was going to build an AI tool and I haven't done it. Why don't I just go figure out how to do that right now? Just get my mind off this other thing. And I did. So I built two tools. One is for midlifers on a job search. So it is much more pointed than and specific than the generic chat GPT. But I built it, it's set, and I love it and getting wonderful feedback. The other cool tool I built is called Biz Builder AI, and I programmed it with 5 Sherpas. So I call myself the Corporate Escape Sherpa. It has 5 Sherpas to help women get really clear on their business idea. So it's clarity, it's client magnet, it is who do you want to work with, all kinds of really cool things. And that actually comes now as part of a program where I also have a community. So the users are working on their hour a day, often using the AI tool to start figuring out their why, their what, their who, and their how. It goes much more, deeper than that. But then they also come into the community now once a week, and we have strategy calls, hot seat coaching, and all of that good stuff. But that no turned into two really cool AI tools that the feedback is just flowing in, and I'm super kind of in love with them, if that's not too braggy.
Not at all. Like we should be celebrating all of the good stuff. And imagine if you hadn't built before you bounced.
Hmm.
Wouldn't the AI tools wouldn't be around now, would they? Probably. So, like,
No.
what a journey. And now,
Yeah, it's been fun.
amazing. I love that. Thank you so much for joining me. I've loved this conversation. I really have. Hope you've enjoyed it as much as I have, or even just this much, as much as I
Oh
have.
my gosh. I loved it at least as much as you did. Thank you so much, Julie.
You're very welcome. Thank you for everybody that is tuning in and watching. I've put all of the links that Tabitha has just shared in the show notes. Go and find her, go and follow her, go and check out what she's doing and soak up even more goodness. And then I will see you in the next episode.